Have you ever got frustrated and even angry with someone because they've done something that you just cannot understand? It goes against every fibre in your body, against every element of your logic. Maybe they leave their children with a family member on a regular basis so they can go out and enjoy themselves. You may feel these people are abandoning their child and showing a lack of love. If that was you doing it, you'd feel really guilty, even if the child was having fun. Or maybe you don't understand how someone can't have a couple of nights out without their children to bond with their partner and relax. Or, of course, you may think, well, it's okay to do it every now and then, no harm done. You know what? None of these views are wrong if things aren't taken too far. In extremes, the first two views are potentially harmful to a child's development, with one overprotecting the child, never allowing them to explore, and the other showing a lack of interest and therefore neglecting the child. But let's move away from extremes and work with subtle and unharmful behaviours. Now, your view towards this example will depend upon your thought pattern, or as it's known in attachment theory, attachment style, which is created during childhood. Let's take a deeper look into this attachment theory. In this video, we're going to be talking about attachment theory and how we can use it practically. Now, this is an outline of the theory as I want to try and keep it brief, but by the end, hopefully you will understand the basics and we'll delve deeper in future videos. John Bowlby, the clever man who came up with attachment theory, thought, as I'm sure we all do, that experiences in childhood affect the development of children and their behaviour right through their lives into adulthood. Attachment theory looks at the child's bonds with their parents or caregivers and allows us to understand how this relationship affects the child. If at the end of this video you look further into attachment theory, please don't only look up John Bowlby, but also check out Mary Ainsworth. These two are the parents of attachment theory and well worth a Google search. Mary was able to expand the theory in some really useful ways. We'll talk about many of Mary's thoughts during this video. Anyway, attachment theory states that it's a human requirement to build relationships. It's a part of being human and a part of us all. Now, our attachment can be broken down into four main aspects: proximity maintenance, safe haven, secure base, and separation distress. Proximity maintenance is the child's desire to be around or near the people they're attached to. We all want to be around those we know and have a bond with, and this need is heightened in children. Safe haven is the safe house of a child's attachment. When confronted with danger or a threat, it's the desire to return to the caregiver for safety and comfort. In films, when a character is hurt, they often call out for their mothers. She is their safe haven. Although often in films when mother is called out, what happens next isn't pretty. Secure base allows the child to explore the world around them. When a child goes off and walks away from their caregiver, a secure base attachment will mean the child keeps looking over to the caregiver for reassurance that everything is okay and that they're safe. As a teenager, when they explore the world, they're often out of eyeshot to the secure base, so they may make phone calls to keep in touch. This is a display of the same need. A child needs to believe that their secure base will not abandon them and will always keep them safe and away from danger. Separation distress is when a child experiences anxiety from being away from their caregiver. As a child, if you ever lost your parent or caregiver in perhaps a shop, I'm sure you'll remember the heart-stopping fear that pulsates through your body when you experience extreme separation distress. It's not nice. These are all different aspects of attachment which build up between a child and their caregiver. We'll look into the use of knowing all this later in the video, but now let's move on and explore the different attachment styles. The level of care, attention and type of relationship a child has with their caregiver can have a massive effect on their personalities. I liken the effect to the relationship of a tightrope walker's pole. An unhappy relationship can make a child's personality sway one way or the other, and in extreme cases the pole can try and sway both ways at the same time, breaking it in two. Like a tightrope walker's pole, we're aiming for a balanced, level, steady and calm pole or personality. When the personality is level, this is known as secure attachment. When it sways one way, this is known as ambivalent attachment. Swaying the other way is avoidant attachment. And both ways at once, breaking the pole, is known as disorganized attachment. Secure attachment. As stated before, this is what we all aim for. This attachment is the result of a caregiver having a good relationship with the child who is confident that their needs will be met with the appropriate response. They're confident in separating from the caregiver and exploring the world knowing that the caregiver is a reliable, secure base. Also, they can be easily comforted in times of distress, happy in the knowledge that their caregiver is a good, safe haven. As adults, this attachment style tends to result in the individual being able to have long and trusting relationships, good self-esteem and self-image, and a calm disposition. Ambivalent attachment. This attachment leads to insecurities and clingy behaviour. This is the result of a caregiver who is inconsistent with their level of care and response towards a child. One minute the caregiver is attentive to the child's needs, but the next they ignore them. In a way, the child is sucked into the caring side of the caregiver and craves this response while being neglected. It causes the child to constantly seek reassurance and attention, but they'll try and steer clear of attachment as they fear what they believe to be the upcoming neglect. They do not feel like they have a reliable, secure base and so will not want to separate from the caregiver, and, due to the lack of a reliable safe haven, they will be difficult to soothe in times of distress. As adults, they may struggle to form long-lasting relationships as they'll worry that the partner doesn't love them. They may become easily distressed and will always seek approval from those around them, making it very hard for them to be alone. Avoidant attachment. This attachment also leads to insecurities, but on the other side of the scale to ambivalent attachment. This is the result of a caregiver who is rejecting and insensitive to the needs of the child. They will not show signs of connecting with the child on an emotional or physical level and would be dismissive at times of distress. Basically, the caregiver neglects the child who learns not to seek for their attention as it will not be responded to. Many people look at a child with an avoidant attachment style and believe them to be mature and independent. They may even comment that they're very capable. This is because this attachment style causes the child not to seek assurance from others and will be quite comfortable playing on their own. Due to the lack of a reliable safe haven relationship, they will not seek comfort and even avoid those trying to offer it to them. As a child, they won't need or want to cuddle after falling over and hurting their knee. They do not feel like they have a reliable, secure base, so they will show little or no difference between the relationship of a caregiver and a stranger. As adults, they'll struggle with intimacy and may even actively avoid it. They'll be unwilling and uncomfortable to share thoughts and feelings and will not accept praise, which they might misinterpret as being patronised. Disorganised attachment. This attachment is very often a result of a child experiencing frightening situations and behaviour, role confusion, where they take the role of the caregiver, neglect and abuse. Just to quickly clear something up, in the case of abuse, it may not be that the caregiver is the abuser. We must be very careful here. If the child witnesses abuse against the caregiver, this may also lead to disorganised attachments. The child will show signs of both ambivalent and avoidant attachments, which lead to inner confusion, frustration and anger. This can result in rage and violence towards themselves and those around them. As they do not believe they have a secure base or safe haven, they will show no signs of loyalty and may even lose their empathy towards people and animals. They'll struggle to feel remorse for their outbursts and feel separated, misunderstood and alone. Just like the tightrope walker's pole, there are different scales of attachment. The pole may be leaning a little bit or a lot in any direction. Just like someone may have a more extreme attachment style to someone else. It is not the case that you are either ambivalent or secure, or avoidant or secure. You can show slight tendencies towards any attachment style. So, knowing all this is very interesting, but how can we use this information in our lives? Well, we can easily find someone else's thought patterns or attachment style frustrating. Knowing that there are different ways of thinking will allow you to understand someone else's reactions. Let's have an example. A child wants sweets and you, for some understandable reason, say no. Maybe you're just about to have a nice healthy dinner. A secure child will view this as annoying because they want to have sweets. But as they have confidence in you as a caregiver, as a safe haven and secure base, they can be talked to and comforted. Finally, they'll accept the decision. An ambivalent child will keep asking for sweets over and over. As they don't have confidence in you as a secure base or safe haven, inside they're wondering why you will not give them sweets. Have they done something wrong? Do you not care for them? They may view this decision as a problem with the bond and cling to you, seeking reassurance through many different ways. Calling out from afar, asking for you to come over, just to see if you respond to the request. Calling you names, then asking for forgiveness to see if you accept them. An avoidant child may seemingly accept your decision, walking away quietly and placing themselves in their room. They too will not have confidence in you as a secure base and safe haven, but unlike the ambivalent child, they will not want to discuss it or ask again. Inside, they'll be just as anxious as the ambivalent child, but won't seek your comfort or approval. They'll be quiet, and it may seem like they're giving you the cold shoulder. A disorganised child may react in the same way as either an ambivalent or avoidant child, but they may also get very angry and even violent. This is because they feel so extremely disconnected from yourself and will have a lack of empathy for your physical and mental well-being. Understanding these different reactions to a simple situation, for this information to help us, we must look at ourselves. In our opinion, there is a sliding scale of ambivalent and avoidant tendencies. We must work out where we are ourselves along the pole. Where would I put myself? Well, let me think. I think I'd be here, slightly ambivalent. Knowing this about myself means I can be more accepting of avoidant attachment behavioural patterns and not get so frustrated by them. Of course, if you place yourself on the avoidant side of the pole, you must attempt to be more accepting of us ambivalent people. We must all try and feel empathy towards a disorganised attachment and realise that it's just their form of reaction, no matter how severe it may be. So looking at these responses, if you, the caregiver, were an avoidant person, you might get very frustrated with an ambivalent child's reaction. You will not understand how this child can keep asking you questions or seek your approval. This reaction just isn't how you'd deal with it, and you'd find it very difficult to understand why they're acting in this way. If you, the caregiver, were an ambivalent person with an avoidant child, you may also get very frustrated with reaction. How can this child walk away from me? They may even do it whilst you're talking to them, halfway through a sentence. How rude! How can they hide themselves away in the room? Are they avoiding you? Are they angry with you? You may try and seek their approval by calling out to them, asking them questions like, "Do you want a hot drink?" And get even more frustrated when they don't answer, or they answer with a simple and moody no. If you, the caregiver, are a fully secure person, you may accept however the child responds. Of course, you'll feel a little put out by the constant attention of an ambivalent child or the cold shoulder of an avoidant child, but you'll probably accept them for whoever they are. Now, if the child has a disorganised attachment, and you an ambivalent or avoidant attachment, you may react angrily towards the child, putting fuel on the fire. A secure person may feel empathy towards the child, but they too may feel intimidated and even scared. These reactions will reinforce the child's beliefs of being disconnected and misunderstood. To help stay calm when faced with a different attachment style, just remember that the hurt or anxiety felt by everyone, no matter where you are along the scale, is the same. It's just the reactions that are different. After the video, just have a think where you'd put yourself. If you've never thought about this before, see how you react to situations over the coming days and then decide. Maybe think back to the example views at the beginning of the video with the child being left and what viewpoint you had, then match them up with an attachment. Although don't forget, these examples are extreme just to make a point. So if you would feel guilty leaving your children, even when you know they're safe and happy, you probably had an ambivalent attachment. If you feel you don't understand how someone can't have a few hours to themselves, you probably had an avoidant attachment. And if you don't have too much of a view and believe it's fine on occasion, you probably had a secure attachment. Don't forget, this is just one example. I mean, you don't have to feel guilty leaving your children at a family member's house to have ambivalent tendencies. Take your time over the next few days and have a think. This is really important. Accepting someone else's reactions is a big part of building an attachment, providing the child with a secure base and safe haven from which they can feel secure and maybe move away from the insecurities of ambivalent, avoidant or disorganised attachments. So, how do we actually go about providing a secure base and safe haven for a child? Well, by proving we're worthy of attachment. By spending time with them and connecting with them. Being there for the child in a persistent and consistent manner. This doesn't mean giving in to their every whim and wish and becoming a friend. but by having acceptable boundaries within which the child feels safe and protected. When a child has a moment of frustration, confusion and anger, don't be intimidated by them, but don't be intimidating. Your anger will only fuel their own. Stay in control of yourself and the situation. Prove to the child you are reliable. Your main aim is to get to the point where, if a large, scary lion with big, sharp teeth and claws walked into the room, the child would run to you for protection and comfort. This doesn't mean you have to be big, strong and scary yourself. Simply reassuring and comforting. And to build up this relationship just takes time and effort. But there is something you can do to help this process along. There are a lot of clever people in the world, and a man called Dan Hughes is definitely one of them. He's come up with some fantastic ideas of how to get your relationship or attachment to this point. It's called PACE, P-A-C-E, which stands for Playfulness, Acceptance, Curiosity and Empathy. Playfulness. A playful attitude will invite the child to engage with the carer with no serious goals or purpose. It will show them that the carer simply wants to be with them and that being together is fun and enjoyable. It also allows for the bond to evolve beyond the spoken word. Body language and facial expressions are very important during play, and this expands the ways in which the carer and child can communicate with each other. Acceptance. The child will be made to feel safe and accepted when they do not fear the risk of rejection or ridicule. When the child reaches the point that your acceptance is just taken as a given or taken for granted, it will allow them to reflect on their behaviour, knowing that you will not judge them on what they've done. For a child to feel fully accepted by the carer must persistently move on from bad behaviour quickly. This does not mean that there are no consequences for bad behaviour. This simply means that the relationship continues as before once the behaviour has finished. Consequences should still be used as this places consistent boundaries, making the child feel secure. Acceptance goes back to what we were saying about understanding your own attachment style to allow the acceptance of a child's reactions and behaviour. Curiosity. Showing an interest in a child's emotional and physical well-being is extremely important. A little, "How was your day at school?" or even just a simple, "Hello mate, how are you feeling today?" as soon as you see them goes an extremely long way to building an attachment and offers opportunities to discover shared interests. It shows the child that you're curious about how they're feeling and progressing through life's challenges. It also makes them feel that you were thinking about them while you were separated. A persistent interest and conversation from the caregiver encourages reflection from the child on their actions, leading to more positive behaviour. Empathy. It's really hard for a child to feel empathy towards the caregiver if the caregiver doesn't display empathy towards the child. If a child isn't feeling empathy towards the caregiver, there will be a discipline breakdown as the child will not respond or care how the caregiver feels. Conversations about how the caregiver feels and how the child's actions affect the caregiver's emotions will help build up an attachment. So, if we follow the ideas of PACE with an understanding of our own attachment style and acceptance of other people's reactions, along with an awareness that the child will be searching for a secure base and safe haven, it will give us the best possible chance to build a positive attachment and, if required, allow an insecure child to heal into a more secure attachment. Don't forget, be mindful and understanding of proximity maintenance and the hurt separation distress leads to. These are all very simple ideas, but they do require a lot of work and consistency, which in some cases can be very difficult. But trust me, the results are very rewarding. Watching a child heal and grow into a secure adult is a blessing which we all hope to experience.
Shalamar Children.